The sustainability issue I investigated is the impact of the Northern Pacific Seastar in Port Phillip Bay. It is an introduced pest that was first discovered in Port Phillip Bay in 1995. Their population has increased exponentially since then and is now expected to be in the millions. This can be explained by the way the females reproduce. They can produce 20 million eggs which change into larvae. These larvae spread over a large area while in this phase. Introduction of this pest is reported to have been from transportation in ballast water of international ships travelling from the North Pacific region. These sea stars negatively impact on the ecosystem in Port Phillip Bay by preying on a variety of native species, especially shellfish. This in turn also impacts on the shellfish farming industry. During the course of this inquiry, I learnt that the Northern Pacific Seastar is widely described in the literature as a voracious predator that affects the native species in Port Phillip Bay. They have a negative impact on biodiversity in this ecosystem as its food source preferences are generalised, which potentially impacts a large variety of species. While they do have prey preferences of shellfish and invertebrates, they do adapt to consume other taxa if they become more readily available. Another aspect that enables the Northern Pacific Seastar to have a greater impact on native species is the lack of other species in Port Phillip Bay that actually prey on it. This may create an imbalance in the food chain as well as deficits in food sources for other species along the chain. The habitat within Port Phillip Bay is the most widely reported to be affected by the Northern Pacific Seastar is the soft sediment communities, where bivalves are vulnerable prey. Varieties of bivalves that live on the surface or only shallow under the soft sediment are easily accessible and therefore eaten by the Northern Pacific Seastar. Many of these soft sediment bivalves have important ecological functions of biobaters and bioirrigators. If people are concerned about the environment, the next question would be, can we do anything about these sea stars? Unfortunately, eradication of the Northern Pacific sea stars in Port Phillip Bay is not a feasible option, as its numbers are well established, widespread, and their rapid reproduction rates would mean that eradication attempts would be unsuccessful if 100% were not removed. However, people can focus management strategies on prevention of translocation of this pest to other coastal areas outside Port Phillip Bay. Public awareness and education of recreational and commercial fisheries in regards to identification, monitoring, and reporting of discoveries is important. Education is also provided regarding the importance of cleaning and maintaining equipment and managing ballast water prior to dispersion. Regulations regarding restriction on discharge of ballast water for domestic and international ships has been developed. Mandatory cleaning of hull fouling of ships from high-risk areas has also been implemented. The Australian Government has examined options for impact management and potential reduction of abundance of this pest within Port Phillip Bay, including physical removal and habitat management. This is indicated physical removal by divers or traps may be beneficial. However, there are also contrasting reports of previous cleanup attempts by divers with only short-term reduction in numbers in the bay. This is an important issue because the Australian Government reports the potential for the Northern Pacific Seastar to invade 24 more Australian bioregions based on their water temperature. Good news is that in 2003, early detection of the Northern Pacific Seastar resulted in an emergency response to an outbreak in Inverloch, whereby successful 100% removal and eradication was achieved. We can learn from its effects in Port Phillip Bay and with early detection could prevent future incursions in other areas in order to maintain and sustain healthy ecosystems within the area.